I'm running late. I'm always running late. I'm either running late or I'm super early. I was sitting here, like, twiddling my thumbs, trying to kill time before stream, and I'm like, oh, let me edit this video. Okay. Then Russell had to leave to take his mother to his aunt's house because the aunt is going to take her to the airport tomorrow because she's flying to go back up north to help her other sister get the RV down here in the next 3 weeks. And then the doggos got weird because she left, and then I'm trying to settle the doggos, and then my mom started talking to me, and I'm like, wait, what time is it? We're late. Yes, yes, we are. We are very late. Okay. That's there. Lights on. Okay, you guys. It's me late as usual. All right. So this is our new needle felting day. Going live on a Tuesday. All right, you know what? Let me slide that over a little bit more. And if I bring this to me, that's why I had that going up a bit. Okay, there we go. All right. So I did zoom it out just a skosh. So it is Christmas crafting season. We are back from vacation. I might sound slightly different. We got a new microphone because the snowball just kind of couldn't keep up anymore. And it was picking up every little background noise, and it was driving me absolutely bonkers. So the time has come for my large bag of polyfill to shine. What is this? This is a 20-ounce bag. We're gonna snip it open. And hopefully I'll be able to re-close it somehow later. I don't want to completely rip it open. We'll just get a little corner here. And we'll pull out some fluff. So it is Christmas crafting season. Yesterday we kicked off Christmas crafting season, and I know I'm starting a little early. It's not even Halloween yet, but I need time to work on stuff, especially when we're doing it on stream. So, I don't want to be scrambling the entire month of December like I was last holiday season trying to get Russell's Christmas present done, cuz that was awful. That was awful. Um every waking moment I was recording, working on that thing, and I still didn't get done till like late New Year's Day. So, he already knows what this is going to be. We already talked about it. So, he's going to get an axolotl. I said, "How big do you want this to be?" He goes, "I don't know. How big can you make it?" And I'm like, "Sir, don't challenge me like this. You might not want to go there." And he's like, "As big as you want to make it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, we're gonna do a core polyfill like we did with Chungus. Just 'cause I have it, and it worked out pretty well on Chungy, I will say. He was pretty solid. So, right now I'm just kind of working on getting the body shape. He has a stuffy, well, he has two stuffies actually. They're not fully correct in like how the tail, like the one tail shape is kind of correct, but not exactly, and the other tail shape is just like a flat piece of cardboard. So, I'm kind of having to merge those two together with a couple images I saw when I looked them up. And right now I'm just kind of layering up our polyfill. And it's gonna take a few layers. I'm hoping one bag of polyfill will be enough. We'll see. I'm trying to figure out how long I want him to be, right? Because I usually go a little bit above and beyond if we have time. This is a big if. Because I don't know how long this is going to take us, because we're only going to work on this guy 1 day a week for right now. If it starts to get into December and he's still not done yet, then we might have to pick up the pace on him. But if I have time, we might also do a mini one, maybe for the Christmas tree. Maybe. But he's found a critter that he wants to roll with, that he liked enough to get a stuffy for. He doesn't normally do stuffies. So I keep trying to encourage him to get the stuffies, and he's like, no. They had one at not Bath and Body Works, and not Bed Bath and Beyond. Build-A-Bear. There we go. The bee was there. They had one at Build-A-Bear, but he didn't want to pay that much for it. And you know, it's easier if you order it online, because then you don't have to go through the embarrassing ritual in store of putting the heart in your hand and turning in a circle. I never had been to a Build-A-Bear before, and one of my friends had taken me, not explaining to me what was going to happen, and they had been there before. I was supremely embarrassed being a 20-something in Build-A-Bear, not knowing what was going to happen, and suddenly having to spin in a circle with a heart in my hand and like making a wish, and I'm like, really? This isn't just like for the little kids? You're gonna make me do this too? Right. So, just kind of shaping this. It's the good thing about polyfill is that it likes to stick to itself. Now, I know a lot of people are like, would be like, oh my god, you're supposed to use core, a roving for your core. In an ideal world, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna argue that. In an ideal world, an ideal setting, and an ideal crafting budget, we're doing a little better than we were previously. So like I can save up to work on some projects that I've wanted to. But I don't have use roving, this much roving as core kind of budget. Like that's just not gonna happen. So not sure how long the tail is supposed to be. So like maybe like we're gonna have to add more layers to this, right? This is just our base layering, but I'm trying to get a feel for how long I want them to be. So maybe tail to here, so we need to extend body this way. And the doggos are both beside themselves because the mother-in-law left without them. So Zuzu was sitting at the front door with his nose in the crack of the door, snorting and smelling. Like, bud, she'll be back in a couple of weeks. It's fine. Your buddy's here. We told her, well, she wasn't going to fly with the buddy anyway. We were going to have to watch that dog while she went to help get the RV back down here. But, I don't even know why her other sister needs help with the RV. She's driven it alone before. But I don't know, man. But the dog was not happy when the female went to the groomers. He was whining at the door. He was like almost inconsolable. That's why we were late starting stream yesterday. Like, I don't want to be stingy with our polyfill. And we've proven that you can do this with polyfill. It is absolutely possible. Because we made Chungus. Chungus's form was polyfill. We coated him in acrylic yarn. I don't know, is this too small? Is it too small? I'm trying to get them all in the frame. I can zoom out further if I need to. But so tail might be a little small here. Like, I know we're gonna have to wrap more because as soon as we start poking this to wrap it in on itself, to tighten it up, it's gonna shrink down. I know this. Just trying to get a feel for our size, right? I like this shape for the tail tip. I do like that. So like it seems to have like a body and then like a round head shoved on it, but it depends on what images you're looking at. Because like this kind of feels like an enlarged, like, not necessarily like an enlarged thimble shape or like an enlarged snake head kind of stuck on. Like the neck is smaller and the head is like bigger. I'm not explaining it properly. Like the head definitely extends off of the neck. And it's kind of like a weird rounded cone shape. What? Who's under my desk? Someone is under my desk somewhere here. No, maybe not. Maybe it's just Susie at the door. Okay. We also got a new light. We have a new light panel. It might be a little overall brighter. I wasn't sure yesterday if it still felt a little bit dark, but that might have just been my impression of things. And I do believe that this microphone is not picking up the traffic, which is lovely. So like the neck's kind of like there. And then the head, we might have to make the head separately and then attach it. Okay, let's get our finger doodles on. These are going to be very important. I don't normally do figurines. I've done a few here and there. We've done some for Christmas gifts, like Chungus and Reggie. Both of those videos, if you don't know what I'm talking about, are archived on the YouTube channel, same name as here. And they'll be on the Nisi needle felts playlist somewhere. It's like we've needle felted Christmas ornaments before and stuff. But are definitely a must for me, at least, when working on the figurines. My aim is not the greatest. I don't have the greatest depth perception. I can't see that well far away. So my glasses pull everything to me. And while that's great and all, sometimes it's a little like, where is this again? And my hand-eye coordination is not the best. So, like I said, we're definitely gonna have to add more layers of polyfill as we go, because I want him to be a little bit solid. Like, I know the boy, he's not gonna sleep with us or anything. It'll be displayed somewhere. We might have to get a stuffed animal net to hang up to display his critters. Oh, hey, this microphone's not necessarily picking up the stabbing. Husband did put a noise suppressor filter on here, so my voice might sound a little different. If I'm not loud enough, by all means, please tell me, and we will raise the sound level of me a little bit higher. I am not always the greatest at projecting. I'm one of those people that usually just kind of tries to blend into the background. So it's like, oh, no. We don't need to make a fuss. It's okay. Which kind of is counterproductive to streaming, really. In reality, because you kind of need to be heard and be seen, and I'm just like, no, I'm good. But I'd be working on this whether we were streaming it or not, so might as well use it for content. Whoop. That scared me. I gotta turn my headphones down. I forgot to turn them up that loud. Holy shit. My ears get very sound sensitive. And when I was editing a Bear and Breakfast recording earlier, I had to turn it up so I could try to figure out if I was loud enough. Thank you for the resub, Zorts. Appreciate that. Hopefully you can hear me. We haven't really had anyone outside of the husband and I able to sound test this because my settings are a little wonky on my end. Oh, good. Do I need to be louder? If I need to be louder, I can turn the gain up a little bit. We think we've got the traffic. I'm good? Cool. Wonderful. I think we've got the traffic noise suppressed, so that, I mean, it might not drown out the assholes in their loud-ass vehicles, but the general traffic seems to be getting blocked out. So, I was so close to talking Russell into us getting another puppy. So close. because, we were kind of worried how Zuzu was going to handle his mom leaving because she was going back up to New Hampshire to help her other sister that's up there get the RV back down here before they head out to go traveling out west for the like winter time. And I was like, oh, well, she's going to take the dog with her, right? Because the mother-in-law, I don't know if you know this, the mother-in-law rescued or took in a dog that her other sister took in but couldn't really keep, and husband really didn't want another dog in the house, and so the mother-in-law took it, which I felt like she really only took because my mom got guinea pigs or whatever. So the dog's been with her. The dog was here for like 2 days, 2 or 3 days while Momo was still around and with us, and Momo wasn't having it with that dog. Every time its collar shook, Momo was like bark howling and everything, and just no. Zuzu seemed okay, but he was feeding off of Momo. Um, if Momo wasn't upset, then he was chill about it. But, she left. She took the dog with her. She drove back up there. Then she came back to watch the house and the animals while we were gone for 2 weeks. And, the little dog came back with her again. Except this time we didn't have Momo. And there was like maybe a day or two of these two readjusting to each other. And while we were gone, his mom was sending us pictures of them like cuddled up on the bed together. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's kind of surprising. And we didn't know if it was more about them both trying to be with his mom, or if Zuzu was suddenly latching on to this dog. And we weren't quite sure what we were going to do when she left to go back up to New Hampshire, or when she was going to leave to start traveling with her sister again. And I'm like, he might get real upset if he doesn't have anybody else around and it's just him again. And we were talking about it while we were away. And I was slowly, getting him used to the idea of, we might need to get him a friend when your mom fucks off with the dog again. And he's like, yeah, we might. And then he's like, well, let's look at like the pound or something for an older dog. But I wasn't finding any small older dogs. And I was like, well, what if we finally got my corgi puppy that I've been wanting for forever? And he goes, well, how much are they? And I'm like, it varies. It depends on if they're registered or not. And we don't need them registered because we're not showing them or anything. So we were talking about it, and then we were still kind of dicking back and forth about it. And then we found out that, oh, when the mother-in-law was going to be going back up to New Hampshire, she's not driving this time. One of her sisters bought her a plane ticket, so she's flying. And we don't know when the last time she flew, but then Arkansas extended the deadline for the real IDs that you can fly with. Like the enhanced versions. I don't know if they're calling them real ID in other states or not, but like the extra holographic, extra documentation driver's licenses. We had to have them in New Jersey years ago. Like the DMV knew more about me than they probably really needed to. Because you had to provide proof of address, a utility bill, a bank statement, your social security card, your birth certificate. If you worked at the casino, yeah, if you worked at the casino, I think in that area you were allowed to use your casino license. And I'm like, really, all I should have to present is my casino license, because these MFers did a 30-page background check on me and extended out to extended family. And they actually checked because I thought it was bullshit when they were checking previous jobs. No, no, they called and checked because that employer didn't know I was applying for a casino license. I didn't really feel like it was any of their business because I didn't know if I was going to get approved because of the bullshit that my one brother had been up to, being in state prison and all of his various shenanigans that landed him there. And so I wasn't real sure it was going to happen. So I didn't bother telling them because, I mean, it was just the license. I hadn't gotten a job anywhere yet. And and she flipped her shit at me. She's like, "When were you going to tell me you were looking for another job?" I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Somebody called here verifying your employment." I'm like, "I applied for a casino license." I said, "I've not been hired anywhere yet. I was just going through the licensing process to see if I would even get approved because I would need that for the position I'd be applying for. But I'm don't have anything lined up yet. Wanted to see where this was going to go because this was an expensive adventure. I had to pay $350. Was it $350 or was it $250? It was some ridiculous amount. You spent 13 years serving your country just to not be able to fly in the borders of my... Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. And they keep pushing the deadline to get this enhanced driver's license back further and further. Now, my traumatic little brain can't handle driving. I've tried. It's too much going on. There's too many side quests that have to be completed at the same time simultaneously, and I end up having a meltdown and just bursting into tears and not being able to move and have like a full-blown panic attack. We've tried several times. I don't know how I managed to get my driver's license, because I know I fucked up a couple parts of the parallel parking test. um I think they pity passed me because it was the day before my grandmother's funeral and we had only gone there because I wasn't ready to extend my testing date to get a new one because my testing date I think was gonna be during like the day of her funeral, like the next day or something. They're like, we can just do it now, and I'm like, um, I'm probably not gonna pass this, but okay. They fucking pity passed me. I know they did. Um, it's too much for me. I know it's too much for me. Um, so Russell kind of prefers to drive. Like he doesn't like driving, but if given the option of his mom driving or him driving, he prefers to drive because neither one of us like her driving. She drives like she doesn't have automatic transmission and she's constantly turning the steering wheel back and forth, and it makes me so fucking nauseous when she has to drive a vehicle that I'm in and I'm like, Russell, no. And it does it to Russell too, so it's not just me. So he's like, no, he's like, I'm fucking driving. Um, but anyhow, so she didn't have to get that, so she was good there. But um then Russell's like, oh well, do you need to take one of our suitcases? And I'm like, Russell, my suitcase is too big for a carry-on, and then your mom might have to pay a checked bag fee, or whoever paid for this ticket. I was like, your mom doesn't really need any clothes really, because she only needs like the clothes for the next couple of days to get up there, next 2 days or whatever, because she has clothes in the RV still. And he's like, oh yeah. So I was like, I was like, besides, don't be volunteering my mom's suitcase. She's gonna get mad. And he goes, well, didn't we pay for that? I'm like, I don't remember, but she's gonna be weird about it because we bought it for her. And he's like, all right. So I was like, just let her take a backpack. All she really needs is a carry-on, and then she doesn't have to deal with fucking baggage claim or a bag getting lost. You know, whatever. Just, your mom's flying by herself. Your mom's not the swiftest critter. We both know this. Just let her do a carry-on. So we have the dog. But yesterday, she can't fly with the dog. I mean, she could have flown, but I don't know if this dog's ever flown before, and then that would have been a whole nother issue. With her flying with this dog. But when the dog went to the groomers yesterday, after we thought we convinced her that Russell will just shave the dog, it's fine. Russell shaves Zuzu all the time. She's like, well, we'll see. And she went and made an appointment and came home and then told us she made it. And I thought Russell was going to have to take the dog. And she's like, no, I'm taking her. I was like, how much is this? She goes, $60. I said, $60? For what? And they've shaved her down to her undercoat, did her nails, cleaned her ears, gave her a bath. I'm like, that's highway robbery for shit that we could have done here. Like, we haven't taken Zuzu to the groomers in forever. And I'm like, we didn't really have the money to. I'm like, you're on a tight budget. That's a lot of money when you don't really have it. She's like, I'm doing it anyway. And I'm like, let the NSF train begin. So I can't tell you how many of those fuckers we got in the mail from the bank leading up to us leaving. I was about to have a panic attack over that. I was like, Russell? He goes, I know, I can't do anything about it. I was like, alright. Your sister's Wattwire that you advised her not to get, lunge at the squirrel, and she, yeah, you were telling me about that in a stream the other day. That's a painful lesson. Not, I mean, I understand wanting to get the dog. I do. I understand that. But sometimes you have to work within your own capabilities. Like, and not a young, spry one that's all full of piss and vinegar and hasn't been trained yet, and all that shit. That was an expensive, painful lesson to learn. Like, Russell and I can't do the large dogs anymore. I got traumatized. There we go. I got traumatized by having large dogs. Not necessarily like a dog attack or anything, but just so now she has to, oh god, surgery tomorrow. Great. That's fantastic. Jesus Christ. Like, I've had little dogs and I've had big dogs. Like, we had full-blown 2 rough coat collies. We had a Saint Bernard. Full-blood Saint Bernard. He was like 150 pounds. He was actually light for his breed. He could have gone a little heavier and still been within normal range. But man, to take it a little bit to the sad side of things, when they start to get older and their health degrades and they start having mobility issues, you have to think about these things. Like, if you're on your own, you got to be able to move said animal in and out of your vehicle, unless you happen to find a vet that's going to do house calls, and those are usually really pricey. And like, you got to think about this shit. And my back's fucked in a couple places, and as well as my neck. And I'm a marshmallow. I can't really lift much. Like, I struggle to pick up a case of water. I can pick it up, but it's not pretty. I can get it from the trunk of the car into the house. It's a struggle, but I can do it. But that's about my limit. We would get these 40-pound containers of cat litter. Man, they're a bitch to get out of the car. I mean, a bitch. Because we would get the cheaper stuff from Sam's, which they don't seem to be carrying anymore, so we're kind of mad about that. We don't know if they're just rebranding or if they're not carrying it permanently, because we saw it on clearance. And we're like, oh no. cat litter is so fucking expensive for something that gets thrown away. Like that's the thing that kills me. It's like we're it's just for them to pee on and then we're gonna throw it out. Like, why is this? I don't know, man. It seems dumb. But so Zuzu lost his mind while the dog was at the groomers. She left with the dog and Zuzu was inconsolable. At the door, whining, crying, pacing, jumping up at us like, where the hell's my buddy? Where did she go? Why didn't I get to go with her? He was big mad. He was big toddler tantrum mad. And so we had to spend some time consoling him. That's why I was late starting stream yesterday. Today I was late because my mom was talking to me about something as I was trying to get these two settled, because now they were both being weird about the mother-in-law leaving, because Russell had to drive her to her other sister's house that's about an hour away. That sister's going to take her to the airport tomorrow. At least we don't have to take her to the airport. So it's like, whatever. But, so we realized yesterday that, oh no, the mother-in-law can't take this dog when they start traveling again. Because they're supposed to go out west for the winter. They didn't want to stay in New Hampshire because of the cold and the winter and the snow. And I looked at Russell. I kid you not. I dead ass looked him in the eyes. And I have trouble making eye contact with people. I said, they know it fucking snows out west in the winter, right? Like, snow's a thing out west, right? It happens during the winter, right? He goes, that's not my problem. And I was like, okay. Alrighty then. Like, have they thought about this? He goes, I don't even know if they're going. He's like, they say these things, and then, you know, half the time they don't follow through with what they say they're gonna do. And they change their mind. He goes, they're probably not going to. They're probably gonna get down here for the winter and then just stay. I was like, alright, because, you know, we spent that money that we didn't want to spend going half on the damn outlet for the RV that I told you your aunt was going to have to pay for before they ever even brought that RV down here the first time, and insisted on plugging into our electrical outlet on our front porch, constantly tripping it. And then finally, a year and a half later, they break down and they're like, well, we'll go half. And I'm like, Russell, we don't need a fucking RV hookup. We don't have an RV. What the hell are we gonna do with it? This is for her. She needs to fucking pay for it. But apparently it was like three-way split between us, his mom, and her. But we ended up paying for his mom's portion anyway. And I'm like, Russell, you understand how stupid this is, right? He goes, yeah, I know. But at least they won't be tripping the outlet anymore, and we get our electrical outlet back. Because I was big mad last Christmas. Christmas is my holiday, okay? I know it's not everybody's holiday, and I get that. But it's my holiday. I love the colored lights. I love all the decorations. Like, I love to decorate for Christmas. Like, that was my jam. Like, I would put up icicle lights on the other houses we were in. I'd be out there by myself doing it, climbing the ladder, even though I was scared to death of it. Getting all the lights strung up. Like, that was my jam. I loved it. Last winter, I couldn't have my Christmas lights plugged in very well, or at least not all of them, because they needed one of the outlets for the RV. I was not happy. this Christmas, if they're here, she has her own RV rated outlet. So as not to trip anything, so I can have my Christmas lights plugged in. And oh, buddy, are we decorating? I gotta tell you guys, I'm so excited. I had gotten these fuzzy fabric covered flamingos that were, you know, Christmas themed. They're on these wire forms of a flamingo shape, and they lit up. They had like white lights inside them, but it looked pink because of the pink fur on the outside. Well, one or both of them stopped lighting up, so I was sad. But we're gonna try an experiment, and we're gonna rip the fabric covering off of them, right? And we're gonna use just the wire form. And we went and we bought some pink lights, and we're gonna rip the white lights off of them, and we're gonna zip tie the pink lights to them, and we're gonna spray paint the frame pink because it's white. And Russ was like, "Oh, the cord on these lights is white." I was like, "That's fine. I don't care. It'll be nighttime. It won't be that big of a deal." But so we got that. Plus, I got 2 new light up flamingo guys. And the husband got an inflatable axolotl. So excited. And when we were at the craft store that we won't name, we were walking around looking at Christmas lights because they were half off. They were having a 50 off sale. Which, you know, fair enough. We're going to check out the 50 off sale because some of those Christmas decorations are expensive. I have these wreaths that we've reused for several years now, and the Christmas balls on them were looking pretty weather worn. So I really needed to redo the balls on there. And so we were looking at the prices of those, and we're like, okay, 50 off, that's not bad. So Russell picked out the colors for those. He wanted them traditional green and red. I wanted like turquoise and pink and white and like lime green, and he's like, let's go with traditional colors on these. And I'm like, oh, you're no fun. And while we were there, I came across some small mini pink Christmas trees, and I was like, oh, Russ. He's like, oh God. He's like, how much are they? And I said, they're this, but they're 50 off. And he's like, well, what are you gonna do with them? And I was like, well, we could replace the mini trees. We had 3 mini trees in a 1 planter box that I had decorated with mini Christmas balls that I had glued on them. These trees came from Dollar Tree because we were on a tight budget when we had gotten them. I was like, well, I guess they are pretty ratty. They really do need to be replaced. I was like, yes. So I got some little tchotchkes to put on there, some little mini ornaments we found, and I think we got like iridescent white ones and like a white star topper. I was gonna do the mini like jewel tony ones, like the turquoise. No, it's not really jewel tone, but like the turquoise, lime green, and the pink. He goes, yeah, but they probably won't stand out as well as these. And I was like, oh, all right, fine. But when we went to Walmart, because they didn't have the outdoor lights that we wanted to get on sale at the craft store, so we were like, fuck. So we ended up going back to Walmart, and we got a set of lights there because the one set we had for outside was pretty much shot. I think only half of it was lighting now. They had 2 hang on, let me get the mini guy. They had 2 flamingos like these, like with the plasticky tinsel stuff on them, except they were larger than this. They were like maybe a foot tall, and they had like little Santa hats on them that I'm gonna stick in between the 3 Christmas trees. I was so excited. I was like, yes. I was like, we're gonna have so much fun redecorating for Christmas. I was like, I'm just sad we have to wait. Doggo, you're okay. Daddy'll be back soon. No grumbles. No grumbling. Grammy's gonna be gone for a couple of weeks. Well, other Grammy's gonna be gone for a couple of weeks. Daddy'll be back. When did Daddy leave? When did Russell leave? Russell left about 10 of 11. Maybe yeah, about 10 of 11. The mother-in-law left, and then she came back in saying she forgot something, and I had just come out of the bathroom, and I looked on the bathroom sink. I'm like, don't you need your teeth? Because they were sitting in a cup because she has dentures. She goes, I don't need my keys. I said, your teeth, you know, to chew with? Are you gonna gum things for 3 weeks? She's like, oh, my teeth. She didn't have them in. I was like, yeah, Russell would have been real big mad if he got home and had to turn around and bring your teeth back. Big mad. Big mad. To drive an hour there and an hour home. Daddy will be home soon, buddy. Maybe another half hour. Depends on how long he dicked around up there. But, we're just trying to... So, yeah, so he was upset. Although now I'm beginning to wonder if it was more about the mother-in-law leaving than the dog, because he's kind of acting like he did when she took the dog, but I don't know now. So now we might have to keep the dog when they go gallivanting off again whenever they do. Long story short. Short story long. We get there eventually sometimes, maybe. So this tube is going to be part of our axolotl body. Which is why I said we're going to have to do multiple layers here. So I'm thinking maybe tail, maybe to here. And then the rest is going to be body, and then the head's going to go on it. Maybe. But we had to get this one set tapped in here, because you see how fluffy it was, and then this is what it compressed down to. And this isn't even that tight compressed. This is still a little squishy. I could compress it more. But we'll get there. It'll get a little bit more squishy, or a little bit harder as we get the other layers wrapped on. So this is going to be a slightly time-consuming project. That's why we're starting it now. I know it seems a little early to be starting Christmas crafts, but for Christmas gift crafting. But we've dropped stream schedule down to 4 days a week from 5. Because I have some personal projects I want to work on. And that gives us an extra day to try to get house errands done when we need to get them done. So we're not rushing to get back in time for stream. And the entire time we were gone on vacation, the husband and I were up at like 5:30. The entire time. A couple of mornings I went and watched sunrise. Because we were down near the end of the island where the sun came up. All I had to do was like walk a block, maybe a full block. If I went to the one location, maybe like 3 blocks if I went to the other location to watch sunrise. And I got a really cool dramatic photo. So I was glad I went that day. A little cloudy that morning, but man, one of the best photos I've ever taken in my life. I'm gonna need to watermark that photo before I put that up on Twitter though. Like, that's how damn proud of that photo I am. I'm gonna need to watermark that. Or, you know, put some kind of something on it. Because it was lovely. I would power up the phone and show you. I was using his old phone that the screen's all cracked to shit on. That he had to swap out for a different phone. There's no SIM card in it, so it was just a glorified camera. We have our good camera, But we weren't gonna bring it this time for reasons, and I don't remember what those reasons were. I think we just didn't want to deal with it. And it's kind of heavy to lug around. But um I was using that phone. He goes, "Here, have fun. Do what you want." I'm like, "Okay." I ended up taking like 2,000 photos and like 120 video clips. When he was trying to, I'm like, "How are we going to get this off of this phone onto my PC?" Because we were originally gonna, we had bought an extra SIM card that we were gonna put into the phone to record some video on, but then we ended up putting it into his phone, I think, and then the other SIM card that we got went into our dash camera. And we were originally going to use that dash camera footage for recording the drive down through the keys because I wanted that, except it's not. What the hell? Oh, did I push on something? What the hell, Elgato? What the fuck was that? Are you okay, camera? Did I accidentally push on a wire? Because you got real mad all of a sudden. And you did like the disconnect noise, reconnect noise. Okay, the camera's still functioning. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck that was about. I don't understand this camera. The husband had surprised me when he got his back pay and ordered this camera without telling me he ordered it. He's like, "Oh, I got you a good camera." And I'm like, "You did?" I'm like, "Are you sure it's a good camera?" Because the one camera you got me, you said it was pretty decent for the price. And it had like manual focus on it, like by hand. That was the only focus, and there was no software for it to adjust where the camera was positioned or anything, or to balance out the colors. And he's like, "No, no, this one was a recommended streaming camera." And I'm like, "Okay." Then he told me what camera he got. I'm like, "You spent how much on a camera?" I was so mad. I was like, "Sweetie, why did you spend so much on a camera?" He goes, "Because you needed it. If we're gonna do it, we might as well do it right." But my computer's slowly becoming possessed, where my one monitor, we don't know what happened. I don't know if there's something wrong with the cable. He added a USB card to this thing too, and I think that's when all of the trouble started. I think that's when the lights on my computer stopped lighting up on the inside, was when he added this USB card. Because I didn't have enough USB slots on this thing. And my monitor, when I get up to walk away from my computer, will randomly turn black. The second monitor. We don't know why. It does not appear that any cables are loose on the back of it. Um, Nothing appears loose going into the back of the computer. It will just randomly turn off for maybe 2, or go black for maybe 2 to 10 seconds. Sometimes it's happened when I'm not even sitting at the computer any longer. I'll be across the room and it'll do it, and I'm like, "What are you doing, monitor?" The camera, we couldn't get to work properly for a while. We had to, when it first came and we couldn't get it to work, people were saying, "Oh yeah, there's something wrong with the cable. You have to go out and buy a new cable and replace it. And we're like, really? I shouldn't have to buy a new cable for a camera that was like $350 or more. It might have been more than that. And I was pissed. I'm like, I'm not buying a fucking $20 cable. But it came with a cable. We kind of rigged it to finally get OBS to acknowledge it, but I couldn't use the camera software. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it did this little ba-doop ba-doop. And then the camera software started working out of nowhere. We don't know if it was a Windows update that made them compatible. We don't know what the fuck happened. It just suddenly started working. I'm not a techie tech girl. I don't know what happened. Maybe it finally got its act together. I don't know. And then it just did that randomly. Now I was leaning my foot against the windowsill behind me or in front of me where all the cables are. I don't know if I was pushing on a cable accidentally. I didn't realize it. That's possible. But I don't know, man. This computer's not old to be acting this screwy. I think it's like 2 years old. 2.5 at this point. We had to replace the husband's computer. Well, we didn't have to. His computer was dying a slow death, and we were keeping it going, but it was starting to get funny with some of the games that he was trying to run. And like Diablo was getting a little sticky situation there, and he's trying to do some coding and stuff. So when we came back, both of our computers had been off for like 2 weeks. He said his computer did not like restarting after being off for 2 weeks. It took a real long time for it to come up. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about replacing this soon. And I'm like, well, I want to replace it before it completely dies. Because if it completely dies, then you're not gonna have the specs that you were have access to the specs that you had written down that you were looking for, because I know you had been window shopping like a month or so ago. And this could be a situation where it's just gonna go poof like mine did. We had no warning on mine. Like, we had a little bit of warning that it was starting to show its age. Especially with Planet Zoo, where my fans were constantly revving when we were playing it. Like, that's all I would hear is the fans constantly revving up. And then all of a sudden I hit go live that one day and everything went black within like 30 seconds into the live stream. I was like, what just happened? And there was a faint burning smell, and we're like, what? But that might have been one of the faulty Intel processors that was degrading over time, that they didn't say was gonna do that until recently. This computer I have is an AMD, I believe. Because when we got this one, he's like, no, you're not getting Intel. I'm like, really? He goes, no. He's like, you're gonna get AMD this time. And I'm like, okay. But is AMD as good? He goes, it's better than that. And I was like, oh, all right. Plus, I didn't have a whole lot of choice if I didn't want to wait for 3 weeks to get my computer replaced. Because this was the last one they had in stock at Best Buy. And I was kicking him off his computer so that I could get on to even check my email and keep an eye on things. So we've got a little bit of polyfill stuck in here, not too much. It's fine. Now I am still using the old mat. I did get a new one. I do have a new one. It's not quite as thick though. Like the new one's not as thick. Oh no, maybe it is. I take that back. It is as thick. It still says Wool Buddy on it. We're not sponsored. These are our sticks for our magnet project that I want to get to work on. We're going to try to needle felt some 3-inch magnets. It's one of my side projects I want to work on after I get all my video editing caught up. I know I still owe you guys, I think, 2, maybe 3 speed. I think it's 3 speed felts from the needle felting Bob Ross project. To be perfectly honest, the husband was trying to work on episode 10. He said he would help me. And because I'm so fussy with how I want my cuts done on that, he didn't understand why I was being so fussy with it. And he's like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, this is how I want it done. It flows better. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but it flows better. So we were kind of butting heads about that. And he's like, okay, fine. He would usually just throw it in and do a quick pass on it and get out all the really obvious things that I wanted taken out, and then he would give it to me, and then I would go and fine tune it. Basically. This time though, he's like, well, I'm gonna try to meet you halfway, and he goes, I'm gonna try to edit it like you wanted me to. And I was like, oh really? I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah. I was like, okay. I thought you hated editing that way, but alright. He goes, I'm gonna try. That was like, what? March? He had 3 episodes left of live streams, and he couldn't bring himself to work on it. So, I think his tea just got delivered. Sounds like. And then he was copying data over from his other computer to transfer to the new computer. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know if that work in progress got brought over to the new computer. Nor do I know if he brought DaVinci over to the new computer. So, I think I'm going to have to start that edit over from scratch. So that one's going to be a little bit, because I'm in the middle of working on episode 12. I have some sunrise and sunset footage I need to try to edit together from while we were away. I got our beach video strung together as best as I could. And I know the music, I wasn't originally planning on doing the music. Well, I was, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe we won't do the music. But Russ was like, you should have told me you were going to try to use the audio before we got to the beach. And I'm like, why? He goes, I could have done some stuff with the phone and set it up differently and had you angle the phone in a different direction so it didn't pick up as much of the wind, because it was very windy that day. I was like, oh. So I tried to filter out as much of the wind as I could. Wasn't real super successful with that. And then there was people having a loud ass conversation near me, but I think I got most of that where you really couldn't understand what they were saying. Like, you could hear voices talking, but I don't think you could really make out the conversation. I don't even know what they were talking about. I wasn't paying attention to them. The only thing that I remembered either one of the group saying was something about time to get out or something, and that was about all I remember hearing them talk about. But so we're gonna add the next layer onto our axolotls. We gotta beef this boy up. He is much too skinny. Hi, why are you under my desk? Where are you? Or are you at the door? You're at the door. You're not under my desk. Okay. That's fine. He's big mad. This is what he was doing, except he was whining. Like I said, I think he's mad the mother-in-law left. Or that Russell left. I don't know. This might just be how he acts. Because he's been, like, glued to her since she came back. Like, he's hardly slept with us at all. Like, he'll come in at, like, 5 a.m. and lay down with us. I will say, ever since we got back, our allergies have been a nightmare. Russell, I think, actually understands why I've felt so shitty since we've lived here. I'm like, husband, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this any longer. This is horrible. None of the allergy medicine I've taken has done much of anything. And we were gone for 2 weeks in Florida. Our joints didn't hurt, and we did a fuck ton of walking. Our feet hurt from the amount of walking we were doing and not proper walking shoes, but we could breathe. We weren't constantly stuffy. We weren't constantly achy like this. This is horrible. Like, it really is horrible. So then my mom was like, oh, I want to go back to New Jersey and see my sister one last time that's still up there. And Russell and I were like, what? Like, we just took you to see my brother and your other sister for your birthday. I mean, yeah, we fucked off to the Keys, but that's because we didn't want to hang around up in that area because there wasn't anything for us to do. And we're like, we're right here, and we found a good hotel deal, so that's why we dropped her off there. She was going to stay with them. And then my brother got 3 feet of water in his house from Hurricane Helene. Or one of his houses. The one he was trying to sell. The one he was trying to sell for like $1 million at one point. And I'm like, dude, you bought a house on the canal. Or on a canal. What did you think was going to happen when a hurricane came in? Like, the house is in a flood zone on realtor.com. Like, what? So now he has to have a professional contractor come in, rip out all the drywall, replace it. All the electric wiring has to be redone for the whole house. And the floors are fucked, and he has to have every single floor board ripped out and redone. He's pissed. He's real pissed. The pool got fucked. He goes, the pool's black. I'm like, yeah, that probably is gonna need a whole new electrical system too, and a whole new filtration system. The pool and the hot tub. I was like, sir, this is why you don't buy a house right on the canal. Alright, so we need to beef up that tail a bit too, I think. He's a little too skinny. But I mean, we had a lovely time. Even with Helene as a tropical storm gaining strength going past the Keys. The waves were pretty wild down at the southernmost point. Buoy, we walked down to the edge of it. We didn't like walk up into splash zone range, because I've seen stories where people were dumb and got that close, and the waves have launched chunks of rocks up and like cut people in the face and gave them concussions and shit. And I'm like, yeah, that's stupid. And it's only a tiny, like, foot and a half concrete ledge tall between you and the rocks that take you out into the Gulf. So, those waves knock you off your feet, man. You're gonna end up getting swept out into the Gulf, getting banged up and cut up on them rocks. No, thank you. But people were being dumb and running down there and getting their photos done. I'm like, I'm getting wet. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, yeah, you're getting wet. You're standing in the splash zone. Like, what? What are you even doing? I'm like surprised that they were getting soaked. And of course, all of them were waiting for the waves to come up for their photo. But we loved the pool at our hotel. It was actually, they advertised it as a heated pool, and it was actually heated. It was delightful. Especially since the hotel didn't have a hot tub, but they had the regular pool, and that was good enough. It was a good size for the property down there. Not many places have a large pool. This was fairly large. The only time we had any issue whatsoever, and it was through no fault of the hotel, was the day that we were under a tropical storm warning for Helene going past us, and she was ramping up her hurricane status to category 5 as she was going by us. The power went out for maybe a half hour to an hour. We'd been sitting in our room, and I travel with my rechargeable flashlight, and I feel silly a lot of the times for doing so. But I'll tell you, I was real glad I had it, because our hotel room went pitch black. Because I think we had just gotten back from dinner, and we were debating whether or not we were going to get in the pool. But we weren't sure. And then I think we decided we were too tired to bother getting in. Or no, we were going to get in. And then the power went out, and we're like, oh, well, I guess we're not getting in the pool now, because you couldn't see up there on the pool deck. And so I said to him, I said, are we going to be able to get in and out of our room if we leave here? Like, is our door still locked? Like, what happens with the key card? I don't know if those are on like battery backups or whatever. We could still get in and out, so maybe that was just on like emergency power or something. I don't know. We should have asked. We never did. So Russell's like, well, I guess we're just gonna sit here in the dark then. And I'm like, well, I don't want to sit in here. It's gonna get hot in here. It was already starting to get a little bit warm. So we decided to venture outside to see what was going on. And it was like the block that our hotel was in and like down one direction was out, but on the other side of the intersection the power was on. It was very strange. I was like, huh, that's weird. And they finally got the power up. Like, we were sitting there and there was a bunch of other guests coming and going and like, woohoo, power outage. There was a bunch of like, I don't know if they were sorority college girls or whatever, or if it was like a wedding bridal party or something across the street from us at a different hotel that were all outside. They were all like doing the girly screams of like, you know, like, okay, whatever. And they end up moving on. I don't know if they were waiting for the bus or whatever, because they have a free bus that'll go around the island. They eventually decided what they were gonna do and moved on. And we were sitting outside, kind of like there was like an area where sometimes the smokers would hang out um under the little roof where you pull in to check in and stuff. So we were sitting there, and then the power came back on after a little bit, and all of the transformers along the street for like a block and a half that we could see started sparking. They were doing like orange sparks going up these little like, I don't know what they call it, these little like screw things where the wires were attaching into them. And us and another group of people on a golf cart were like, I don't think that's supposed to do that. And Russell like went in and told the chick at the front desk, who had actually been the person that had checked us in a couple days previously. We're like, I don't think that's normal. Do you like need to call somebody, like power company wise or something, and report that? Because we weren't sure if it was like gonna catch on fire or something. Because Russell's like, that looks like there's just too much power surging through now. And so she called and reported it, and she's like, is it normal for these to be like surging orange, like arcing sparks? And guys like on the other end, no, that's not normal. And she's like, okay, well that's happening in this block between here and here, as far as I can tell. I don't know if it goes any further. He's like, okay, we'll put that report in, and somebody will be out to check on that. And we're like, okay. We never did see anybody come to check on it, and it was doing it for a couple of days, actually. It calmed down a little, but it was still doing it the next night. And we're like, yeah, I didn't notice it the day after that, so I guess they got their shit sorted. But I don't know. It was very bizarre. So this is like the boring stage of this, is where we are wrapping our fluff on our axolotl form that we are making. We're making his bones and his insides, basically. I've never made an axolotl before. So this is an adventure for all of us. I've done a flamingo. We've done Chungosaurus. We've done Reggie. I don't have any armature wire in here. Right now this is solid polyfill. And I'm just using a small gauge needle to just kind of felt this in on itself, just to get our shape a little bit more solidified. So this might take a little bit, this process, because we are basically building him from scratch. And I'm working on the body. We're still gonna have to do the head and the leggies. We'll figure that out when we get there. Because right now I'm still trying to figure out how long we're gonna make this guy. I already had the husband pick out the color yarn that he wanted on him. And he was giving me a hard time about it because he's like, just pick something. You're the one making it. I said, yeah, but it's your gift. And I don't want to use a color that you're not going to be happy with. So just tell me what colors. Please tell me what colors. Because we can go the traditional peachy fuchsia, like peachy pink fuchsia, or we can go with a non-traditional color. So we are building him, and Russell decided on the like lighter pink fuchsia magenta color for his little antenna guys and stuff. So that is what we're gonna do. So this is gonna be our tail area. I wanted this to be a little bit thicker because, you know, the body's gonna be a bit thicker. So this is kind of how we're starting to shape him and get him figured out. I don't know if I'm going to be extending the length of the body yet. Kind of want to see what happens as we go. So this is kind of like when we started to build Chungus. How we were building up our inner... Oh, good thing we've got these guys on because I just felt the needle hit the underside of this. Why I say it's good to have your finger protectors on. I should have gotten a new pair. I didn't yet though. We could probably use a new pair. But yeah, we're just gonna work on building up our thickness as best as we can and kind of figuring out his shape as we're getting there. Now I am using the old mat. I haven't busted out the new one yet. I did get the new one. I got a different color this time, but I figured, you know what? This one's not completely shot yet. We can still get by with doing the critters on this guy, so I might hold on to this mat for critter creation. I was originally gonna make a flamingo, right? A larger version of Marvin here, but as our like palette cleanser from going from the Bob Rossi things into Christmas. But I was afraid I was not going to have enough time to leisurely work on this guy. That is just some of the yarn color that got pulled into him off of the mat. That's all that is. And that is fine because that will get covered. But I mean, you could do roving. I don't have the budget to do roving. I have the budget for a polyfill core. So that's what we're gonna do. But yeah, I do owe you guys a couple speed felt videos. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. But I also had to record some more Bear and Breakfast. I got 2 episodes of that recorded yesterday. And the second episode I got recorded yesterday, so what's that going to be? That's going to be episode 13. I kind of cut off quickly at the end. More quickly than I had wanted to because the doggo was being weird and starting to get whiny and grumbly. So I had to go deal with him. But I should have a Bear and Breakfast episode if I remember to go back and schedule it later today. I should have that going up. Let me think. We've got Coral Island live stream from Sunday going live today on the YouTube channel. Well, tonight. Yesterday's tissue paper project is going up tomorrow. So the day after, so 16th, so probably the 17th is when that next episode of Bear and Breakfast will be going up. I know we didn't live stream that. That is a record session only. I've been trying to keep those recorded sessions to around a half an hour, or at the very least under an hour. Time passes so quickly in that game. Kind of like Planet Zoo. You look up and you're like, oh crap, it's that time. Oh, right. So Planet Zoo had an expansion pack go live today, guys. They put out for the fifth anniversary. I might be wrong on that number, but they put out an anniversary pack with several animals and some new scenery to go with them. And there was also a free update with a free animal included in that. In that celebration extravaganza. That went live today. We did go back. I haven't picked that pack up yet. I haven't picked up the Zookeeper pack, I think it is. Russell did grab the Eurasia animal pack that we were missing because it was 50% off. He's like, okay. I woke up, I'm like, why is it saying I have a gift on Steam? Like, I looked at him, I said, what did you do? He goes, what do you mean? I was like, what did you do? And then I got into Steam and I was like, oh. I was like, you grabbed that? He goes, yeah, it was 50 off. Or 40 off or something. No, I think it was 50 off. Whatever it was. He goes, it was a decent enough sale, so I grabbed it. I was like, oh. Okay. I said, you know that the new DLC went live today, right? He goes, yeah, that's gonna have to wait. I was like, okay. That's fine. We'll get it eventually. But, we picked up the next part of Diablo 4's expansion, I guess part 2. And we've been trying to play through that when we've had a few moments to spare the last few days. And, we're having an issue where one of the quote unquote key how do I want to word this? Where one of the key not factor, I don't know what the word I want. Key parts that make up the new part 2 of the expansion. Key features, there we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Is bugged. And we're getting kind of frustrated with it. Because every time we go and do this and we have a quest to go do this feature, for a while it wasn't counting for him. And we'd have to like redo it 2 or 3 times before it finally counted for him. And last night we did it twice and it still didn't count for me. So we don't know what the deal is. Diablo 4 and Blizzard. And Russell's hunting to figure out how to deal with it or to find out why it was doing it. He didn't see anything official from Diablo 4 or Blizzard saying, oh yeah, we know about this bug. and we're working to fix it. Nothing. So him and I are kind of PO'd that it's a key feature of this thing they want you to do in this expansion, and it's not working properly. So we're either gonna have to do it separately, solo, or we're gonna have to figure out multiple times. One person thought it was whoever's instance you were in was who was getting the credit, and we tried reversing who joined who, and that didn't work last night. And then somebody else is like, it seems to be whoever gets the last hit in on it. And he changed his spec and he's doing more damage than me now, so that might have been why it counted for him both times. We haven't really tested that yet. But we're like, why? Why is this bugged so badly when it's a key feature? Why haven't you fixed this yet? Why haven't you said you know about it? If they have, we have not seen any mention of it. I mean, we were a few days late picking up the expansion. So maybe they did and he just didn't come. Maybe he's not searching it right. But everything that we've seen doesn't seem to indicate that, like, yeah, we're working on it. So I don't know. Don't know what's going on with that. So we made the stream time start a little bit sooner than what we previously had it scheduled for, because we had been getting up so early while we were away, and we kind of wanted to try to keep that momentum going because we're both enjoying kind of having some time in the morning when it's quiet to get some stuff done before the rest of the house is awake and other demands are suddenly brought forward. I cannot tell you how much the two of us miss Walmart being 24 hours. I cannot even begin to explain. Like, we were out early the other morning. Where were we? We had to run to Walmart to get light bulbs. No, I needed stuff for breakfast. And, let me see, can I... Okay, it's not really stuck in. So, we had gotten these lamps while we were down there. They were really cool. They're like some kind of Turkish lamp thing. Whoop, that was not the right light. I've got so many switches here. There we go. So I've got this guy. It's pretty cool. We hadn't seen anything quite like that before anywhere. So, we decided to pick up one for each of us, and they needed a specific bulb. So we were out trying to find that, and we had to run to Lowe's to get, oh, that's what it was. We started at Lowe's because I needed a pot for my palm plant that I got. That should be okay if the cat eats. Oh, no, I didn't like that. No. Okay. Ah, stop that. I just pissed off my arm. Stop it. My forefinger and my thumb went like pins and needles for a split second. Ooh, stop it. Like I said, my neck and everything's fucked. So, I don't know what I did, but some kind of tendon got mad. Or a nerve or something. So we went to Lowe's, and he's like, well, I said, so we're gonna go to Lowe's today. He goes, yeah. I said, well, they're open now. He goes, they are? And I said, yeah, they opened at 6. He's like, let's go. So it was like barely 7 o'clock when we rolled in there, and then we popped over to Walmart, and we forgot they do quiet time in the morning until like 8 o'clock. Ah, that went through the needle protector, or the finger protector. Shit. That hurt. But it barely did any damage. So, yay for needle protector, finger protector. Yay. It was so nice. Like, we were in there looking at the Christmas decorations, seeing what our outdoor lighting options were, while they still had a good selection. And he goes, oh my god, it's quiet. He goes, the music's not blaring, the lights are turned down. He's like, this is wonderful. I was like, yeah, I know. If only they were open 24 hours again, so we could do our grocery run at like 4 in the morning or something when there's nobody here. Or later at night when we can't fucking sleep. Very much miss that. I want that to be a thing again. It's a lot calmer going through there at that time of the night. Not a whole bunch of people. I don't feel as anxious. I don't feel like I'm in a huge rush because he's super anxious. I can actually look at stuff. And I have time to breathe and time to think. Because my poor hamster wheel of a brain, man. Sometimes that wheel is smoking, and not in a good way. I was trying to put together outfits when we were packing to make sure I had enough clothes with me. And husband's like, what are you doing that you are so intently focused on? I'm like, shh, bother me later. He goes, well, I need to ask you something. I'm like, all right, fine. And then he asked me, and then I lost track of what I was trying to do and wasn't sure what shirt I was trying to pair with what pants. And I mean, it wasn't like that much of rocket science, but I was trying to make sure because like I have a couple of pairs of shorts that I don't like as much, that the waistband's kind of given up on, so I didn't want to take those with me. And I was trying to make sure I had enough bottoms for tops. I had tons of tops. I didn't have that many bottoms. So I was like, okay, well, I'll have to bring this pair of capris. I'll have to bring this pair of shorts, but do I have something that goes with this color? Because it's not black. It's like a weird shade of teal, and I'm like, I don't know if I have anything that really goes with that. And then I was digging through my clothes trying to find colors that wouldn't clash terribly, and he's like, wow. I was like, what? He goes, you were so focused. I was like, shut up, I'm trying to think. like, leave me be. I'm trying to make sure I don't run out of clothes. And I was like, you know what? Okay, these are the clothes that I have left after I went through, and because I was like, okay, well, I need clothes on this day of travel, this day of travel, and this day of travel. And we had one duffel bag that we were bringing in and out of the hotel, and we were leaving our big suitcase in the trunk. Because I didn't want to drag the whole huge suitcase for like just something I needed for overnight to change into the next morning, and like toiletries and our travel blanket. And was that originally where I was like, no, that's probably about where. So if I go from like here to here, might be good enough. But I don't, oh, sorry, I got distracted again. So it was actually a good thing that I packed a few extra outfits because we ended up extending our stay by 2 days. We got there, we sent it a day in the front and a day on the back. Just to try to make life a little bit easier for us because we didn't want to drive through the Keys the day that the storm was going to go by them. And my mom was like watching the news. Apparently, the news channel in my aunt's house was Fox News. And she was watching it and she's like, oh, they're saying don't come through here. There's no gas. There's a gas shortage. These towns are destroyed. I'm like, what towns, Mom? What towns? We need to know these towns. Russell and I don't watch the news when we're on vacation. The world's fucked up enough. We watched the Weather Channel just to make sure that we were good and how serially hot it was going to be the next day. And if we were going to need to pack our rain ponchos in my backpack for the day. That's it. Otherwise, we disconnect. Like, I don't even think there was like a clock in our room, to be perfectly honest. Not that you really need a clock with people having cell phones and stuff now, but I don't think I even saw like an alarm clock that had the time on it. So half the time we didn't know what time it was. I'm like waking up, like we were like passing out from all of our walking and the heat and stuff at like 10 o'clock at the latest most nights. And I was waking up, I'm like, damn, what time is it? I feel like I've been asleep forever. It's gotta be like 6 a.m. It would be like 1:30, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I don't know if I can get back to sleep. My sim bar might be full. I don't know, man. I am a little surprised he's not back yet. They must have roped him in to help them with a computer problem. He's been having to tech support for his one aunt that he took his mom up to. Thought he would have been back by now, but he is not. Alright, so the shape's not gonna matter a whole lot right now. Like, we want to start to at least get, you know, the inner core shaped out. But it's okay if it's a little wonky right now. Because we're still going to have plenty of time to figure out our shape here and kind of lock it into place. As we go, because this body is totally not fluffed out enough. Like, he needs quite a bit more work. And we need to thicken this boy up quite a bit. Now, I probably could have done a skeleton, probably. Some people use pipe cleaners as their skeletons. I just, meh. It seemed like an extra step, because I was still gonna have to bulk everything out. So if I'm gonna have to bulk out the skeleton to begin with, I might as well just use the polyfill. And make him solid all the way through. So I did download, I remember to save our flamingo photos from Discord. Russell didn't give me all of them because they were taking the photos and recording video. Our flamingo guide. And the flamingos, the female wasn't real into saying hello to everybody that day, and they don't force the interactions. Or like, if it happens, it happens. You know, we go off of their mood and their body language, and we're like, okay, fair enough. We weren't allowed to touch them, we weren't allowed to reach for them or anything, so if they came up and interacted with us, it was all of their choosing. And the male was kind of latched on to one of the guys in the group. He loved his sunglasses that he had sitting on the top of his head, and the male flamingo was just kind of holding it in the edge of his mouth, like gently tapping on them. The female did come up to me at one point and started investigating my foot. She tapped the edge of my Crocs for a second, and then she was mouthing the edge of my sock, and like my foot jerked a couple of times accidentally because she pinched me and I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't like, it didn't leave a mark or anything. I just wasn't quite ready for that little like pinch of pain. Me, when I stabbed through this thing a few minutes ago, hurt more than that. It just, I wasn't quite ready for it, so I was like, I think she did that twice, and then she decided that I had capri pants on that were kind of loose and flowy at the legs, and so she decided that she was going to chew on those for a little bit on the edge of that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But for the most part, the two of them were more enamored with the one guy in our group and his sunglasses, and the other guy in the group had a webbed strap across his chest to like a camera bag or something that he had on his hip or whatever, and she was very fascinated with that strap. She's like, oh, what is this? I like this texture. But it was still fun. I never got to be that close to a flamingo before. And they were loud. They're like standing right in front of you. They are very loud when they are right there in your face, honking away. And then we had to be like wrapped up on time because they had a wedding that was happening that night. And then like the next day we saw like two different groups of wedding parties. Somebody had special rented out one of the tour trains to pick up their wedding party at the hotel next to ours. And I was like, oh my goodness, everybody's getting married today for some reason. I don't know what's so special about this day, but a lot of people, I guess, liked that particular date. And And all of the peoples were getting married. And once the storm had passed and everybody that had gotten spooked by the storm going by came back, it was definitely fairly crowded for off season, or the end of off season. The days that the storm was going by were great. There was like no crowds. You had elbow room. It was wonderful. And oh so windy, although the salt spray on my glasses was getting a little annoying. But I had to keep carrying lens wipes with me. And just hoped that I was going to be looking through a salty film most of the day. And then the storm finished going by, and then it returned to not quite not quite on season crowds, but it was still pretty jamming. We had originally booked a king room at our hotel, and they changed our room, I guess, when we asked if we could extend our stay by a day, and they were like, yeah, sure, and they charged us one amount. And I said to the husband, I said, that sounds awfully low. Are we sure that's right? Like, they flipped the amount, right? It was 162, not 126. And no, they confirmed it was for 126. And I was like, really? Turns out, because of the storm, a lot of people canceled their hotel reservations. And several properties were like only at 40% capacity. So they were like practically giving rooms away at steep discounts. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, they didn't even really, it flooded a little bit. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to be in one of the parking lots that was in the section of town that flooded. And we were near where the main street flooded, and there was part of the one property. The one property was huge. They had like sections of blocks where they had their different buildings with different rooms on them. So like one or two sections of those got flooded. But where we were was pretty protected. Plus the parking lot had kind of an angle, so if any water did accumulate, it should run away from the cars as much as possible. So we were pretty good in our little section. So, how am I doing this, guys? So, let's see. Probably want to start to curl our tail maybe about there. So that is that a long enough tail though? We might need to bring the tail about there. Don't have a marker. Should have grabbed one. A pen will do. A pen will do even. Let me see. So just trying to figure out how long I want the body here. Okay, just so I know whereabouts we want that to be. Okay. I mean, we're still a little bit of a ways before we're gonna get to really getting down to the nitty gritty of shaping this, but do want to be thinking about where I want that to be, so I can figure out leggy connections and our head connection. So we still have to make the head. Haven't made the head yet. I know, buddy. I don't know, my daddy's not back yet either. He hasn't called and he hasn't messaged me. So I don't know. Unless he got roped into helping them with a computer problem or traffic's that bad. So now we're going to see how her dog does without her. And see if we can get her dog to chill with us. I will say, we thought Zuzu was not quite so bright compared to his brother. Everything's in perspective because Zuzu is a genius compared to this dog the mother-in-law picked up. We have to work on training her a little bit. We did insist on getting her a harness. We'd gotten her a harness the last time the mother-in-law was here with her. And I don't like relying on a collar because dogs can slip their collars pretty easily. And she wasn't in it. I'm like, didn't we get her a harness? And Russell's like, you know, I was thinking that too. Because she showed up with just the collar again. And I'm like, where's the harness? He goes, I don't know. And so he questioned his mom about it. He goes, didn't we get her? And she's like, yeah, but it didn't really fit her and it wasn't really staying on her very well. And so I stopped using it. Or I got rid of it or something. And I'm like, okay. So this time Russell went with the dog and found one that fit her pretty well, that velcros and has a clasp and everything. It seems to be pretty snug on her. So we kind of want to go not quite a lizard body shape, but kind of a lizard body shape. I'm thinking. So a little bit flat on the underside. Not completely flat though. But we are going to start to work on shaping this guy up. Yeah, as best as we can here. Slowly, slowly. Like I said, this is sort of the boring part of this. Is working through our shape. So I also need to work on my tissue paper art project base concept idea. want to start fleshing that out. Okay, this, I'm like, I need to have this like be back here further, so just gonna work on getting these sides tucked in because this is nowhere near chunky enough. We need him a bit chunkier. He's not a skeletal axolotl. We're not making a spooky one. So we are still using the old mats. I figure the old mat is probably good enough for this. I don't need it to be completely flat. I hear kids screaming across the street. That threw me earlier when I heard it. Like, what the heck was that? And I forgot it was a Mother's Day out day at the church across the street. They do like daycare 2 days a week, and I don't know if it's 2 different sessions or if some people pay for the whole day. Because it seems like they show up outside around 10 and they're outside for a little bit and then they go inside, and then it seems like there's more around 12 or 1, and then I think everybody is home by 2 or 3. I think. I could be wrong. Sorry, just had to change how it was sitting. Okay, so gonna work on getting this section tacked in. I got so sunburnt while we were gone. My vampiric ass. Like, I know Florida sun can be dangerous. I know this. But I was out at the pool and I hadn't really gotten much color. I mean, we'd been there for a few days and it didn't really look like I had been outside at all. And I was sitting at the pool, like in the water for a little bit. And then I got out and we grabbed a table by the pool that had an umbrella on it. We had the umbrella open. I was sitting under the umbrella. I had mostly dried off. And I was saying, I'm like, man, it's really hot out here. And we got lunch delivered to the hotel and we were sitting there eating outside because I didn't want the hotel room to smell of food, because sometimes I get weird when it smells like different foods for a prolonged period of time. And, you know, they had enough seating and stuff outside and it was a little breezy, so we sat out there, we ate. He went back in. I'm like, I'll be back in a little bit. I was like, man, it's like really, like my skin's like really hot. And I looked down and suddenly my skin was like bright red, even though I hadn't been in the water for a couple of hours. And I had been sitting under the shade of an umbrella. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's a delayed reaction. So either that umbrella wasn't doing shit for blocking sun, even though I was clearly in the shade, or it took that long for my skin to register that it had been out in the sun. So then I had to spend money on two different, so I could have one for the pool and one outside of the pool. I had to get two of those like sun shirts, those FPS shirts. Because even going out in the sun and the sun like going through that shirt was an experience. And I was like, "Oh, I can feel the sun still searing my skin through this shirt." It's kind of like a bathing suit material. So then I was kind of extra hot with that on, even though I had a tank top on underneath of it, because they were not of a material that you could get away with wearing just that. If the light hit it right, you could see through it, sort of. So I was like, well, I still have to wear my other shirt. And this way I can take this off when the sun goes down. If we're not back to the hotel yet. So I had gotten one, and I had worn it into the pool, and it was taking a bit to dry. So, like, we left it hang all night. But with the humidity, it wasn't drying very fast. So, I was like, Russell, I think I need to get a second one. They were 50% off down there, although I don't think anybody was selling them for the sticker price of $55. We got ours for like $25. The hardest part was finding shirts big enough for me. I found, in all places, a place selling Tommy Bahama stuff that had these banana boat SPF shirts that were actually in my size. I was like, okay, finally, someone that has a 2X shirt. Because, like, all of the shirts that they had for sale, like in all of the t-shirt shops and stuff on the main road, they'd have like, oh, practically free, $3.99 each, and huge blowout sale. And you know, a lot of these are just fucking full of shit. This is the price that they always sell them at. And they're just trying to play on the psychology of oh, sale, you know. And all of the shirts that were like, oh, $5.99 each, big sale, $3.99 each, they were all like mediums. And I'm like, who the fuck fits a medium? Certainly not me. People much smaller than me, I suppose. But well, girls always want bigger boobs. But I don't think they realize that you have to get a bigger shirt to accommodate. And then suddenly your wardrobe costs so much more. I didn't want bigger boobs. I just got them. Like, I was given them for free. Naturally. I hate my bigger boobs. It makes life so much difficult. Much more difficult for me. Like, I want to wear the normal sized shirts. But alas, I cannot. I was so mad every time I saw like the sale signs. I'm like, ooh, what sizes are they? Russell's like, you know it's gonna be a medium. Don't even bother looking. Like, oh, alright, fine. Oh, I did pick up, I don't know what they're for. like, I don't understand their original purpose. They might have been, like, they almost look like an embroidery hoop, but they're not. They might have been, like, handbag handles or something over in the fabric department from the craft store. They were on clearance. These, like, round, like, bamboo-y kind of circles. It was probably, like, supposed to be for, like, handbag closures or something. But I picked two up for like $2.50 a piece on clearance. I was like, ooh, you know what? Ow, that was not the fluff. Dang it. Tap the fluff, not the finger. Tap the fluff, not the finger. Where's my mark? Okay, so my mark's on that side. It's helpful to kind of get an idea for how we're gonna start shaping this guy if I know which way I want my tail to be positioned. I was surprised to see how many shops were closed while we were down there for renovations. Some of them were closed like the entire month of September, it looked like. Based off the signs outside, they were renovating. They were renovating plus away on vacation. I'm like, is September really like that shit of a month for tourists? Because I don't know, the joint seemed pretty hoppin', at least during the day. They did have several cruise ships have to cancel. So I think maybe 2 days we were there. There might have been a cruise ship in town. Or maybe it was only the one day. The one of the there I go again. I moved my finger a certain way. Pins and needles from my thumb down. The one day there was supposed to be two in. But because of Helene, the port of Tampa had been closed. So, Margaritaville Islander, which is the town that that ship is based out of, couldn't dock and unload their passengers and pick up their new people the day they were supposed to. So they had to alter the next sailing and make it a little bit shorter. And they had to take Key West off of the cruise itinerary. So they still had time to get to where they were going for their other port of call, which was a bigger draw. Which was, I think, somewhere in Mexico. I don't know if it was, where was it? Was it Cancun? No, one of those ports down there. Somewhere in Mexico they were going. I was like, well, I mean, that's fine with me. And then we were talking to the one lady that was running Key West Aloe that day, and we'd seen her before, I think. She's like, yeah, the cruise ship's canceled today. Or maybe the port was closed that day or something that we were there because of the storm. That should be a good sized body, right? Think so. Alright. That or the port of Key West was still closed for the storms. That's possible too. All right. Not sure what I'm making for dinner yet. Something involving chicken, I know that much. Alright, so I'm just kind of wrapping this on here. Try to bulk this guy up a bit. Because he is nowhere near robust enough. We're going to have to overlap that. Like, I need to not be stingy. I've got a good amount still next to me. Like, we've barely made a dent in this bag. So if I put you about here. Polyfill doesn't do a half bad job of sticking to itself, so that's helpful. But, you know, this is what I had left over. So this is what we're... Oh no, I'd specifically gotten it for the flamingo, that's right. The flamingo and whatever his Christmas present was going to end up being, which turned out to be this guy. Alright, so I'm thinking it might be easier if we start to concentrate on bulking out his body now. And then we'll come back and start to figure out our tail situation and start shaping that. Or maybe we should start shaping it now. But I don't know how much thicker our body's going to be. So this will get scrunched in. Maybe we come up a little to give us a little bit of room to work with. That might not be a half bad idea. Okay. So it turns out we're not taking my mom to New Jersey after all. She's changed her mind. She decides she doesn't want to go anymore. I'm like, Mom, we'll fucking take you. It's just gonna have to wait till, like, not this coming spring, but the spring after. Because, you know, we need to pay down some debt so we can travel. She's like, nah, I don't want to go anymore. She goes, my sister doesn't want to do anything. She can hardly walk across the room. All she wants to do is sleep. And the only time she can really go out to go do anything is at night when her husband gets home, because she has guardianship over her grandkids. Because her daughter's not allowed to watch them. For substance reasons. So my aunt was awarded custody of them. My mom was like, I can't be going out that late. And I was like, we'll take you. We were looking forward to eating from our favorite places again. And she's like, no, I don't want to go anymore. Like, alrighty, I'll tell Russell. And she's like, well, what if you took me to Florida and then you guys went to Virginia? And I'm like, those are in two totally opposite directions of each other, mother. So, I mean, if we're gonna go to Florida, we're all going to Florida. And we're gonna make the drive worth it. I will say our sun pass, we found out, can be used, or we believe it can be used, on one of the turnpikes in Oklahoma. So we're gonna leave it active. And next time we go to the zoo, we're gonna see if it actually deducts from the SunPass account or if it's gonna charge us toll by plate. Because they took out the toll collectors. Okay, so we're about there. Alrighty. I don't know what we're dubbing the axolotl yet. I'm not sure if the husband's going to name him. We might have to dub the axolotl. So be thinking of a name. For this guy. Don't know if we'll use your name suggestion. But have a couple at the ready. Just in case. See, the only bad thing about using the polyfill is that it takes a minute to get it built up on itself here. Although we haven't done too bad today so far. I hear doggy feet. What's up, doggo? I don't know where Daddy is. He should have been back by now, to be perfectly honest. Whew. We need to just stretch for a minute here. So how's everybody doing? Everybody doing all right? How's everybody been the past couple of weeks? Good news is I shouldn't be picking up the husband's keyboard anymore. This PC came with a slightly quieter keyboard. And this microphone is actually doing front sound, so it's not picking up his keyboard. So that's good. I do need to change how I'm sitting though. Let's stand up and take a stretch break. It also, we're under a freeze warning, believe it or not, for tonight into tomorrow. Surprisingly enough. So it's probably also not helping the joints. The joints are aching. Okay. So he does kind of have a slightly, not like super flat bottom, but kind of a flat bottom. Like, not quite turtle-esque, but maybe something similar. Okay, so start to flatten this out. Hold on 1 second. I will be right back, you guys. Sorry. My mom didn't know if I knew we had a delivery sitting outside. But I heard that get delivered. Just haven't gotten up off my ass to go get it. We have an ad break starting in 2 minutes if you are not subscribed. So do keep that in mind. Subs shouldn't get the ad break, I don't think. If you are subbed and you get it, let me know. It does help out the channel if you stick around through that. Alright, so keep on trucking here. Getting this all worked in. It takes quite a few layers to start getting this guy all beefed up here. But it's not too bad. It also depends on how generous you are with your fluff on each layer that you wrap around it. I'm a little bit less generous with my fluff. I need to be a little bit more generous with it to make this process go a little bit faster, but you know what? We have time. Right now we have oodles of time to get this guy done, which is why I wanted to start him so early. So I'm not too worried about this taking a little bit longer. So I'm okay with that. And so we are beginning. I think this would be a good density to really start shaping. That way we know where we need more and where maybe we need a little bit less. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still pretty pretty far from color going on. I mean, we haven't even made his head yet, so but want to get our body figured out here first before I worry about making our leggies and all that. Then we know how big we need to make our leggies and just kind of build it up from there. So this is top, this is our bottom. And I'm not sure how thick he's gonna be yet. Certainly thicker than what he is right now. That's for sure. Right now he just kind of looks like he's gonna be a lizard. Maybe next year I'll try to make him a bearded dragon. That might be pushing the envelope a bit for me, though. Alright, so we're gonna have the tail bend that way. Sometimes you also have to change your perspective on how you're looking at a piece. Don't just look at it from one side, because you're probably gonna end up a little bit lopsided. If you do that solely. That's why we are changing it up here a little bit. Trying to figure this guy out. Okay, so this side definitely needs a little bit of help. We don't have him quite so well shaped over here. This is going to be another one of those labor of love projects. I can feel it in my bones. Well, as long as he's happy with it, right? That's all that really matters. Okay. So, I know we have a bit of fluff hanging out the bottom here. That's fine. We're gonna get to that soon enough. Definitely soon enough. I just want to work on our side shape here. Just a little bit. Kind of get these two pieces here that were hanging out kind of tacked down together. Just so I know those two aren't going to go anywhere. Alright, so now on this side, maybe to about here-ish. Alright, so let's start trying to get this side shaped. Like I said, this is a bit of a process, and this is probably part of the boring part of this, because we're not slapping down color just yet. It's going to be a little bit before we get to the coloration phase of this guy. Might not be till November. So we're only doing 1 day a week on him. And today's what, the 15th? Maybe before then, but we'll have to see. Kind of depends on how much we can get done, because we are going a little bit longer sessions. Than we have been. Okay. So let's see here. Get that. Because, like, we're starting to get the shape right. Like, starting to in here. I mean, obviously, we don't have any leggies yet to help balance us. And our tail's not fully formed yet. But we're working on it. Plus, I want to make him a little bit thicker. He's still a little bit smaller than I was envisioning. So do I want to make bourbon chicken tonight, or do I want to make chicken Alfredo? I might do chicken Alfredo just to use up the heavy cream that I have. Because I couldn't get a small container. That needs a little bit of squishing so I can pack that up into the rest of it. Just a little bit. Oh, the fluff, not the finger. The fluff, not the finger. Repeat after me. Stab the fluff, not the finger. So he is firming up pretty good so far. So that is good to see, good to feel. Alrighty. This is our other side here. Alright, so let's see what we can do, because yeah, that's still way too skinny. Way too skinny. Like, what kind of axolotl mom are we? Not a good one. Not yet, at least. Alrighty. We'll get this guy shaped up here. So we are making some progress. It is slow progress. Don't get me wrong. But we're slowly marching forward. And he's starting to take on like a slight U shape. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing yet. We'll find out, I guess. So I do think after this layer, as we start to flesh him out here, I'm gonna just do like a U drape and then leave the bottom open. Kind of make an axolotl boat, and then I will fill in the bottom of our section that I want to be slightly rounded, but more flat than round. As we go. Might make things a little bit easier to have these in two separate entities, at least for right now. Oh, it seems to be when I'm pressing my elbow down a certain way. Aha! Okay, we just need to not do that. And we'll be good. Alrighty. So, let's see, how long have we been going so far? 2 hours and 45 minutes so far today. I mean, I guess that's not too bad for 2 hours, almost 3 hours worth of work when we had nothing. We started out with nothing. All right. Okay, so where's the end of, okay, so it ends right there. I mean, we were down here on this last wrapping. We were working on just the body here. I want to be careful not to stab through too hard or too far so we don't get our fingers on the other sides from where they are holding on to. Okay, so let me take a peek at this side now. You can kind of tell where your center section is, because if you're not hitting it, you're just gonna go like straight into fluff and into nothing. But you'll actually feel the thickness of what you've done so far if you're actually attaching it to the rest of it. Try not just to tap willy-nilly here. We want there to be a reason. We don't want to end up with just like a fluffy ice cream cone shape. Kind of what the face is gonna look like, or maybe like a waffle cone bowl, but we don't even have the head started yet. I'm not sure how I'm gonna tackle that, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. I gotta think about that. Kind of like a 3D rounded triangle, or like a nose cone that's a little bit stubby. Kind of, sorta. Alright, so start tacking down our bottom section here a bit. Trying to flatten this out just a skosh. And I need to get used to looking at this shade of light, because it's gonna be a little bit. Before we move on to coloring. And I'm probably gonna have to fluff. More than likely. Some more pink. The magenta color he picked out. I don't know if I'm going to need to or not. But that pink shade, more than likely, I will need to get some more of. But we've got plenty of time to do that. All right. So let's see, where is, okay, right there's the nub of the head. So let's see if we can try to get this under control a little bit. Oh, hold on one second, you guys. All right, sorry, I had messaged the husband. I'm like, where are you? Are you okay? It's like, you should have been back by now. All right, so let's see here. I think I was more generous up here than I was with the rest of it. At least that's what it feels like. Probably the case. All right, so what do we got going on over here? Like, in reality, this is how thick I would like him to be before we get to coloration. Don't know if we're gonna quite get that far. We might. Certainly have a lot of polyfill. So we certainly could go quite that big, but then the head's gonna be huge. I have to make sure it's not quite the thing of nightmares, because I'm gonna have to look at this. It will remain in our house. It's not being shipped off somewhere, so gonna have to make sure that I can stand looking at him too. Okay. So, see about getting this kind of moved out a bit. I mean, fiber is going to fiber. This is true. But we're gonna try to coax it into doing what we want it to do. The best that we can. We're getting somewhere with it, slowly. Right, let's see if we can hold everybody down long enough to get this section tacked in. We will see. If we're able to. Okay, so this is our flat side. Whoop. All right, so start to tack in this edge. I have a feeling this guy's gonna be as solid as Chungus was by the time we're done with him. I mean, Chungus can hurt somebody with as sturdy as they are. So I probably should have put the wire in the legs just to give them a little bit more stability. Oh my gosh, where have you been?
I drove up there, I drove down to the Fayetteville area, stopped at lunch at McDonald's, and then I'd stop by Walmart to get stuff for dinner tonight for myself.
Because it's like almost 2:30.
Yeah, I know.
I was getting worried. Alrighty. So we'll get this worked into here. What you need at Fayetteville Walmart?
I grabbed some steakums, grabbed some stuff to make quesadillas. I grabbed steakums for all of us, but I'm going to use it tonight with quesadilla.
We had some.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Okay. So, alright, let's see here. Getting this popped into here. He doesn't like chicken Alfredo, so. Or at least he's not been willing to try it right now. Fair enough. Okay, so this is our top. This is our side. And this all worked into here. Okay. Zuzu's been grumbly at the door the whole time you've been gone, and I don't know if it was because of your mom or because of you.
Thank you for kids.
Okay. So I think that's probably a good pause point for today.
Don't stop on my house.
We got pretty good. No, I need to take a break. So we got pretty far. We've got, you know, it still has to be fluffed out. Like this is nowhere near chunky enough, like I said earlier. But we're on the right track, I think. So, and I need to step away for a little bit. So we're just gonna pause here. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing Planet Zoo. We'll be picking up in Tappy Feet Children's Zoo. I think we're finally putting in our anteater. Maybe. Because I think we got the outside of the exhibit done. We still, I think, have to decorate part of that. But we're getting there on it. So thank everybody for hanging out with me this afternoon and watching the slow, boring process of getting this guy put together and shaped. Thanks for the resub, Zorts. I do appreciate that. Oh, we should give Zortles a shout out. I'm always bad at doing that. Zorts. There we go. Doing Zorts for a while through WoW challenges. And I will see everybody tomorrow morning for Planet Zoo. And everybody have a good evening. Don't forget to follow Socially links down below. And you'll find links to the Ko-fi, the X Twitter, the Instagram, and the YouTube channel. So I will see everyone tomorrow. Until next time, you guys, have a good one.